Whether professionally or in love, good partnerships don't always last. Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, Daryl Hall and John Oates, Ben Stiller and Christine Taylor all broke up at some point, and most relevant to today's subject, Mortal Kombat co-creators Ed Boon and John Tobias did the same. After Tobias left Midway Games in 1999, he helped form Studio Gigante the following year. They released 2 whole games before folding in 2005, that year's extremely flawed WrestleMania 21 and their first title, which dropped in 2003. I'm Eric J. Chucky, and welcome to Violent Profiles, where we discuss obscure fighting games and the rosters that define them. And it's definitely obscure this time, so as a reward, I think I deserve you hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment on the video to share your thoughts. If you really think I've been a good possum, you could subscribe to the Patreon at the $5 tier to see the next episode a month early and watch Season 0. If you forget before the video's over, don't worry, I'll remind you later. I spent some time with Tao Feng, Fist of the Lotus in the year of its release, playing a few rounds against the friend who purchased it while chomping on Doritos in my basement. I honestly don't remember much about it, I'll be frank. Does that still count as nostalgia? I'm gonna say yes. The friend was undoubtedly drawn to purchase it by the impressive graphics, cosmetic battle damage, and let's say the 2003-ness of it all.
It's sexual, baby.
It might not surprise you to learn this was the same friend who introduced me to Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball, which is a solid volleyball game / dating sim, but I don't think the gameplay was what drew him to it. Speaking of gameplay, Tao Feng has multiple stances per character, as well as mechanical effects from taking too much limb damage. If you turtle up, your arms will be injured and your punches won't hit so hard. If your legs take enough punishment, the same applies to your kicks, and you'll move around more slowly. Fortunately, you can use your key meter not only for special moves, but also to recover from said limb damage. It's also unique in that its quest mode isn't the typical pick a character, battle everyone to the top, but pretend it's a tournament schema, but rather choosing one of 2 sects, and battling the other faction's fighters with each character to earn the path to the final boss and an ending for your chosen team. In that vein, the story is hard to explain through the listicle format we usually do on this show. A lot of the backstories are intertwined, and each of them really functions as a team. The game's setting and narrative honestly feel kind of like an old 70s kung fu flick crossed with the social dynamics and superpowers of the X-Men. So, strap in and do your best to follow along, I guess is what I'm saying. Watch the video twice if you have to. The smartest place to begin is with Wulong Goth, leader of the nefarious Black Mantis sect. This is a legacy title passed down from master to pupil, and the station comes with some of the supernatural power and memories of the previous leaders. I'm not sure if they also inherit this sick bug costume too, but I dig it. Kinda looks like the Monarch, but green. The current Wulong Goth was a promising warrior in training in 1951 when the Black Mantis were challenged by their noble rivals, the Pale Lotus, and their leader, Master Sage Shi Hao. The Black Mantis thought the Pale Lotus had already been destroyed, and the surprise saw Shi Hao kill the previous Wulong Goth, which meant the character playable in this game was granted his power and control of the clan. The younger, fresher man rewarded Shi Hao with a bloody end using his Mantis-style kung fu. Under his direction, the Black Mantis spent the next 52 years expanding and modernizing. They moved to the setting of our game, the country of New China, which seems to have subsumed California to become its own sovereign nation, independent from both the United States and the People's Republic of China. Its population center is Metro China, where the Black Mantis operate behind the veneer of the Yanlo Corporation, using it as a front while they engage in smuggling, political blackmail, and human trafficking, among other things. They use their might to assimilate or force out the Triads, thus keeping a stranglehold on New China's underground. Imagine Goth's surprise when he investigates the reports of a sorcerer vigilante and sees someone who deeply resembles a man he only knows through his inherited memories. When Lo Shu was an infant, the Black Mantis struck out against the Pale Lotus of the Perfect Harmony Temple. His entire family and the sect they supported were slaughtered, their sacred relics were stolen, and Lo Shu was left in the hands of a man who would become his mentor, Shi Hao. They absconded to New China for a time, Lo Shu learning his family's traditions in Tai Chi-based martial art in secret lest they once again court the attention of the Black Mantis before Shi Hao was ready to confront them. Lo Shu had his own children and grandchildren, trying to separate his traditions from a more practical modern life as a feng shui consultant, but when old injustice came to New China, he could stand aside no longer. Both leaders are possessed of unnaturally long lives, with Goth using dark magic and forbidden alchemy to keep himself young, while Lo Shu has simply mastered his own ki to maintain his health and combat ability. Each man possesses half of the divided yin-yang tablet, using them to track down the stolen sacred relics of the Perfect Harmony Temple. They seek to parlay these relics into a meeting with the immortal celestial Sho Sing, the old man of the South Pole. He's based on a real Taoist deity whom I did not know about. Neat. I learned something from Tao Feng. As he controls the death date of every human being, it is said his favor can offer immortality. Perhaps this is accomplished through an item in his constant possession, the Peach of Immortality, which I speculate he might use to make the Elixir of Immortality the story largely focuses on. Wulong Goth wants this to ensure he will be the final and most powerful leader of the Black Mantis and to dominate the world, whereas Lo Shu is just worried about his family's treasures and the power they provide falling into the wrong hands. To help him in his quest, he accepts the mantle of Master Sage and begins training a new sect of Pale Lotus warriors. Thus our game begins. It may surprise you to learn that there are no headband-wearing karate wanderers on this roster. The main characters of this game are probably the ones we just talked about, but there is also Arya Chen, codenamed Jade Dragon. Described as being single-minded, determined, and fearless, but perhaps too serious, Arya fulfills your Leonardo role, your Liu Kang role. One of Lo Shu's great-grandkids, he's considering she may be the wisest option for the next Master Sage after he passes, even though the title is traditionally granted to a male heir. At the age of 11, she discovered her great-grandpa was training another student and insisted he pass his art onto her as well. When she began learning the ways of the Pale Lotus, she knew she had found her calling. Arya has a strong sense of justice and entertained becoming a police officer like her quote-unquote uncle Shen Zhen, but as her bond with Lo Shu has increased, she decided to take up his feng shui consultation business. While she has no equivalent in the Black Mantis since Wulong Goth aims to be the last leader of his sect, we can instead look to the Fatalist. He bears a glowing symbol on his chest that serves as a nexus for gathered ki, allowing him to access its energy to amplify his European mixed martial arts combat style. The Fatalist believes that all things are preordained, and he consults runic tablets to foretell the future as it is written, though even his bio admits he tends to skew the interpretation to favor his own fortune. The Fatalist loves to eat, loves to fight, and chases skirts with conceited enthusiasm, unable to conceive of a woman who would want to rebuke his advances. He also lies as easily as he breathes, presenting his life story as multiple choice. Some have been told he's the last scion of Vlad the Impaler, or the ruling prince of Austria fighting under a pseudonym, or even more outlandish tales like that his parents were killed by wolves who then raised him and taught him how to fight, or that he was a super soldier engineered in a secret lab. What is true is that he's originally from the vicinity of Germany, is a master of armed combat, and an accomplished mercenary who came to the Black Mantis under the guidance of his runes, looking to lay low due to the price on his head. Wulong Goth killed any pursuers who came to collect, so now the Fatalist stands at Goth's side, until the runes say otherwise. More loyal, and indeed perhaps more useful to the Black Mantis, is the behemoth known as Exile, who taps into his ki to cause tremors and shockwaves with his unarmed attacks. Merciless and enthusiastic about violence, but reticent and thus considered stupid by those who interact with him, Exile is Wulong Goth's personal enforcer. I gotta give credit to the devs for making most of Exile's mighty attacks take advantage of his massive size. Y'all know how much I hate it when the game's juggernaut decides to only fight things within 6 inches of their bodies instead of swinging wild with those big boots and haymakers. A Chinese native born into poverty, Exile's psychopathic tendencies caused his parents no end of shame and even ran them out of several villages. They eventually abandoned their son to fend for himself, and he was so successful that he hunted them down and snapped their necks after reaching adulthood. So of course Goth took him in. What a great remorseless bruiser to have on your team. One of the few things he muses aloud about is regretting he was too young to help massacre any previous incarnation of the Pale Lotus. Tao Feng is a pyrokinetic and the first student of Lo Shu who operates under the codename Fiery Phoenix. That definitely sounds like a name a septuagenarian thought was cool and bestowed into his first pupil. Imagine how pissed Zhao was when the next student got something as keen as Jade Dragon. As the resident fire type, Zhao can be a little headstrong and often throws caution to the wind, though unlike a Wheeler or Raphael, he's described as having a big heart and being both generous and joyful. Zhang's family has run the Feng packing company of Metro China for generations, and they gave Shihao a job when he first arrived there with Lo Shu in tow, which no doubt naturally resulted in Lo Shu helping oversee the feng shui for the company's expansion years later. A legitimate company making money in Metro China didn't sit right with Wulong Goth, and he ordered the Exile to torch the building and murder its owners, Zhao's parents. Zhao only survived because of Lo Shu's intervention, and the Master Sage felt honor-bound to adopt Tao Feng. Not long after, he began his training, and seeing Arya so frequently has led him to develop a significant crush. Since becoming an adult, he's enrolled in college to earn his business degree, so he may eventually restore Feng packing to its former glory. Also, he's a vigilante firebending kung fu hero looking for revenge against Exile for killing his parents. You know, it's important to have a hobby even while focusing on your studies. Since we're talking about people close to Lo Shu's family, let's move to Shen Zhen, the Divine Fist. Technically a member of the third major sect in Metro China, the Eastern Sun, Shen's strict upbringing saw him walk the straight and narrow path to becoming an honest and honorable police detective. This didn't sit right with his bride-to-be, fellow Eastern Sun member Savitri Bindra. Her ability to excel at almost every task placed before her earned her frequent praise and adulation from her parents, but instead of simply encouraging her, it turned her into a selfish brat. This only got worse as she aged into a demanding, manipulative diva. Savitri wanted a man with a more glamorous and lucrative position than the police force, but Shen's commitment to justice could not be swayed, so she left him for the figure who had recently been whispering in her ear, Wulong Goth. He renamed her Divinity, and now she uses her gift of clairvoyance to read the Yin tablet and orchestrate the Black Mantis' plans, as well as fighting their enemies in person with her ability to manipulate light energy. For some reason, her clairvoyance doesn't work with the Pale Lotus. She claims something is jamming her abilities, but with the way she drip feeds Goth the information from the tablet, it may just be another one of her power games. Shen Zhen never really recovered emotionally, never taking another lover or having a family of his own, though he did become close with his partner on the force, Charles Chen, and his family. This was how he bonded with Charles' grandfather Lo Shu, and upon seeing the Black Mantis corrupt his fellow officers in the city he loves, he is sworn to shepherd Lo Shu's students and fight against Goth and his diabolical ex. I don't have a good segue into the next character I want to cover, because I'd like to go out with a bang on the 3 most over-the-top concepts on the roster, and Fierce Tiger isn't that. She's cool, just not as cool as the rest of the roster. Real name Isis Williams, she's characterized as being protective about those closest to her, even when being competitive with them, though that spirit of competition seems to be born of a lack of self-confidence, a desire to prove her most negative inner voices wrong. She has very feline movements, which makes sense what with the name and all, and her ki manifests as slashing claws on her hands and feet. It reminds me a bit of Injustice 2's Cheetah, albeit without the space jumping. Isis was the baby of her family and grew up on the rough side of town, forging the exact kind of defiant, determined person who would rise up the ranks of the local gang scene. Desperate to save her baby girl, Isis's mom had her transfer schools, where she simply became a solo delinquent. As fate would have it, she tried to shake down fellow student Arya Chen, and when the two eventually fought and Isis lost, she was surprised to see Arya offer her a better path through her great-grandfather's teachings. It would have been a lot cooler if she checked this plan with Lo Shu first, but seeing Isis fight, he decided he was cool with it, and she joined Arya and Zhao as his 3rd student. On to the weird shit, starting with Lo Shu's final student, the Iron Monk. Real name Damon Lee, he too led an early life of crime at the behest of the Black Mantis, the sect Damon's parents sold him to at a young age.
Ooh, that's bad.
Though he wanted out, he was more interested in keeping his neck unbroken at the hands of the exiles, so young Damon became a skilled cat burglar, leading him to see what might be worth stealing in Lo Shu's sanctuary. To his surprise, the old man was no pushover, and indeed outfought him almost effortlessly. Lo Shu didn't want to hurt Damon, sensing a noble spirit beneath his exterior.
That's good.
And in their scuffle, an amulet around Damon's neck became exposed. Familiar with this amulet thanks to his own master's teachings, Lo Shu pinned the teen and questioned him about his origins. Touched that someone seemed to actually care about his difficult life, Damon agreed to become Lo Shu's final student without hesitation when it was offered to him. For a time, he acted as a spy within the Black Mantis, feeding Lo Shu and Chen Zhang information to help them in their efforts, until during a key training exercise, he suddenly, I wanted to phrase this more eloquently, but I really don't know how. He became the Iron Monk.
That's good.
I'm gonna guess kinda like how Colossus suddenly becomes a metal guy, but genuinely I don't know. Lo Shu revealed to Damon he was a descendant of the original Iron Monk, a warrior for the Black Mantis who crossed fists with his own master in ages past. Undeterred from his path, Damon's time as a double agent came to a close, instead fighting directly alongside the rest of the Pale Lotus, especially where it might stop the Black Mantis' child exploitation. After all, these experiences left Damon solemn and slow to trust, but the sense of belonging he's beginning to feel with the Pale Lotus is the first taste of true happiness he's had in his short life.
Can I go now?
He also does this dance for some reason. Wiggly. Another metal martial artist, Gei Yi was given the codename Geist by the Fatalist as he butchered the pronunciation of her real one. I can't judge him too hard, y'all have heard me on this show sometimes. I get weird with it. Growing up on the mean streets of Macau made young Gei Yi a master with knives, which she's come to coo at and treat like her children. Seeing this, Wulong Goth obviously wanted to add her to his band of freaks and took her in to become the Black Mantis' finest assassin. She was even Goth's lover for a time, and she developed an obsession with the man through their intimacy. However, in 1995 it all went sideways as she was seriously injured during an attack on her master's life, leaving her paralyzed from the neck down. He tried everything to heal her, eventually leaving her in the care of a secret experimental biotech research lab where he, kind of forgot about her.
You ever forget? Happened to me.
Geist rotted in that lab for 6 full years before a breakthrough saw her able to control a cybernetic body with her ki. She used her wiles to seduce the lead scientist, convincing him to give her knives she could also control with her ki, and then killed him and destroyed his lab so nobody else could ever match her unique arsenal. Her plan was to follow Goth to Metro China and return to her place at his side, but when she arrived, she found divinity there instead. While she accepted her old role as assassin once again, there is now a wound within Geist that not even cybernetics can heal. Only when she finds herself as Wulong Goth's lover once again will she truly be content. The final member of the Black Mantis is Vapor, an enigma perhaps named for her ability to teleport and become intangible. As cold, haughty, and distant as her probable Russian homeland, Vapor's smile sends chills down the spines of those who see it. She's said to respect only 2 others in this world, Wulong Goth and the Master Sage. She would love to learn the secrets of Lo Shu's longevity, and if the rumors about her using her powers to sap the strength of her handsome lovers are true, perhaps she would seek to take it for her own, leaving Lo Shu drained of his ability and raving mad. Vapor has a long, complicated, and secretive history. She first surfaced as Bogoroditsa in her youth, worshipped by a Russian religious sect known as the Klisti. Vapor claims to have orchestrated the Russian Revolution that saw the death of Tsar Nicholas and his family, bitter over the murder of her favorite pupil, Grigory Rasputin. She followed her own pursuits of extended life to the Black Mantis, joining when the previous Wulong Goth was in power and being satisfied enough with his successor to remain with the current one. There's one more character before before we leave, Zhao Yin, the guardian of Shou Xing, who serves as your final challenge. If you beat both sides of the quest mode, you unlock him as playable. He has 2 swords and is pretty cool. I did not unlock him because I do not have time for that nonsense, and he doesn't have a bio or any details anyway. There are 2 endings depending on your chosen sect. Should the Pale Lotus succeed in challenging Zhao Yin, he grants them audience with the Old Man of the South Pole, who praises Lo Shu for his dedication to righteousness. But the Black Mantis aren't so noble, killing Zhao Yin and demanding the elixir of immortality from Shou Xing. The Celestial taunts Wulong Goth for his foolishness, and he's banished from the South Pole with force. Kind of anticlimactic either way, really, but I can still appreciate what they were attempting with the team versus team structure and leaving room for future entries that never came. This game has such a great setup, and the characters have so much potential. The way everything weaves together feels like a really well-made movie or prestige drama series. Hell, the graphics are even above standard for the time, and with a powerhouse dev team and Microsoft's money behind it, why is it Tao Feng didn't persist for even one sequel? Well, it wasn't very good. I often refer to Tekken's gameplay as deliberate, and in my most uncharitable moments I might rephrase that as stiff, which is unfair. They're not always the fastest attacks, but they are smooth. They flow into each other. Whether you're playing Brian Fury or Eddie Gordo, you feel in control of your character's actions, able to chain moves together, or switch to the defensive with relative ease that has seen the Tekken franchise thrive into the modern day. Tao Feng manages to be the inverse of that. Moves that combo sometimes feel like they're frame canceling with how abruptly they transition into the next attack. Non-combo attacks sometimes have such long animations that they feel punishable even when you land the hit. You get lovely little sweet spots where a combo flows and your character feels downright comfortable to play, but it never lasts. Adding to the awkwardness, the camera suddenly flips every now and then when it's decided you're too close to some piece of terrain or another, forcing you to adapt or die, which isn't so bad against a fellow meatbag, but the computer doesn't notice it as a problem on account of not having eyes. The game didn't move units, is the bottom line, and what sales it did make weren't heralded with praise. In that way, both endings are true. Neither Wulong Goth nor Lo Shu captured that elusive immortality. But unlike those two, both halves of Noob Saibot seem to be on the same page once more as of time of recording. In fact, most of the duos I mentioned wound up back together in one way or another, and that means we'll continue to get wonderful expressions of creativity from some brilliant pairings for years to come. Not Hall & Oates though, those guys hate each other. Next month on Violent Profiles, we'll take a look at the ultimate game of body shots. Oh, wait, no, that game doesn't really have bios or endings. In that case, let's explore some of the most dangerous streets in... Oh, well, it also doesn't really have content for this show. What about Kaiser Knuckle / Global Champion? Oh, that one too, huh? Maybe I should just do a mega episode in the future where we speedrun some of those games, like I Can't Believe It's Not Punch-Out. Anyhow, actually next time on Violent Profiles, we'll take to the broader galaxy in search of some world warriors. No, we'll need to go bigger. Hey, remember when I told you I'd remind you about the Patreon earlier? Well, here we are. $5 not only adds your name to the high scores you see before you, but you also get new episodes a month early and access to the original Season 0 of the show. Plus, it lets me buy chips and dip. And ask yourself, is a life without chips and dip really worth living? Until next time, white out.